call to honest to the order. Buenas everybody. It's 2:09 p.m. March 13, 2024. In compliance with Public Law 24-109, Guam Ancestral Lands Commission published the public meeting announcement for Wednesday, March 13, 2024. Okay, 1 second. It just moved to another screen here. 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. Here we go. And it froze. It froze. 1 second. Joey, it froze on me.
We can see you and you're loud and clear.
Okay, I just my documents all it disappeared.
Oh.
And it moved to another screen and it's locked right now. I think it needs a few seconds. Can you put the justification?
Agenda? Oh, okay, justification. All right.
It completely froze. Weird. And there it is, came back on. Okay, we'll just start real quick. In compliance with Public Law 24-109, Guam Ancestral Lands Commission published the public meeting announcement for Wednesday, March 13, 2024, in the Guam Daily Post on Wednesday, March 6, 2024, and Monday, March 11, 2024. Public notice was also posted in the Governor of Guam public notice portal and the GALC website. Joey, can you do the roll call?
Okay. Are we still gonna do the screen share or?
You can take it out now. For some reason, it came back on again.
Okay, so roll call. The Chairman Ronald F. Eclavea.
Present.
Vice Chair Ronald T. Laguarnia.
Estiga.
Secretary Treasurer Maria G. Cruz.
Present.
Commissioner Anita F. Orlino.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Jeffrey B. Reyes.
I believe he's going to join us later.
Hopefully. And we have the 2 vacant spots now of commissioners. So, but we still have a quorum of 4 needed for administrative duties. So we can start the meeting. Before we get into the approval of minutes, if you don't mind, and I'm gonna do something. My attempt. Okay, Pari sen maguf Natsumoto mes Senginsinya nihi takanta Fanogi Tsumoro Zansangan I Inifresi put favor. Okay.
Malika, right on, Joey.
Malika.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to that mob. Debbie night, that's okay now, todo tempo.
Okay.
You got it on screen? Can we get it on screen there?
Okay, and now we're gonna start the Fanogi Chamorro. Hang on.
I'm still having technical problems with my apps here.
On the court of G.
Hey, I'm sorry. Almost there. I'm sorry. Oh man, where did it go? I had this. Here it is.
Alright.
Nogita moro,
Very good.
Okay, now we're gonna do the Inifresi.
Inifresi. Kinini mastakilo,
Stakilo,
ihinasoko,
Ihinasoko,
imastakalum,
Ikurasono.
Ikurasono,
Jani masfigu,
Nani Pasfiku,
naninasi
Nani
nyahu, huofresin maisadu, para by protehi, janhu defendi,
Defendi,
ihinengi, ikotura,
Kotura,
ilengwahi,
Ilingwahi,
iairi,
Iai,
ihanum,
Ihanum,
janitano
Zani,
tomorrow.
Nano Chamorro,
Niren shaku direto gininas
Tim
dus
Geninas
tata,
Tata,
esti huafilma,
Hua Vidma,
gihilo
Gihilo
ibiblia,
Ibib,
jani
Zan
banderahu,
Banderaho,
ibandera
Ibandera
guahan.
Guahan. Viva tomorrow.
Diba?
Diba?
Panansi mamatay, ano?
Okay, where we at here?
Okay, now we're under agenda
We're on the
item
minute?
3, approval of minutes.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Okay, Vice Chair? Okay, Vice Chair?
Yeah, I would like to move to approve the minutes, subject to corrections, if any.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve
So I'll second that.
the minutes? Do I hear a second?
Yes, Commissioner Cruz. I second it. Did you hear me?
It's been seconded, Mr. Chairman.
I think he's having issues with his connection.
Yeah. Need to go,
Okay, can you hear me now?
yes.
So
Okay, I'm sorry. Did we get a second?
Yes,
Okay, who seconded?
Commissioner Cruz.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, no nays. Joey, motion passes.
thank you very much. Next on the
Just excuse me a bit, guys. I am having delays on my application, but go ahead, Joey. Next on the agenda is the
Next on the agenda is the executive director's report, and the only thing that he asked me to mention was the issue of possible the possibility of not having any representation from the Office of the Attorney General, but we do have the AG's office here with us right now today. But he just wanted to mention that there may be a possibility that we may not be able to be represented by the Office of the Attorney General, and so he sent a letter to the front office letting them know our issues, and if anything does if there's a point in time where we do need outside legal counsel, hopefully the front office can assist us on that. That's
Okay.
And then I'm sorry, one more item on the executive director. I just wanted to introduce everybody to Pete Mofness. He started with us now. He took over for Mara. So Mr. Pete Mofness is from Anigua. And he's on the screen right after Andy. So we'd like to introduce Pete Mofness to everybody.
welcome, Mr. Muffness. Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to have you on board.
Buenas noches. Buenas
So we got-
salud, señor.
Okay, anything else, Joey? That's it, right? For the director's report?
That's it, sir.
Can we get any update or feedback from our legal counsel? We're all good. Yes, you're here.
Mr. Chairman, members, we're all good. The encouraging thing about my participation in this meeting is an indication that the Attorney General's office has no concerns with the operation of the commission.
Okay, very good.
Correct.
Well, it's good to see you here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Joey, what's next on the
Next on the agenda is the GITA progress report. Agenda item 5.
sounds good. Okay, Ida, you got the floor.
Tony, you're on mute.
My apologies. Good afternoon, Chairman Aclavea, Vice Chair Laguarnia, all the commissioners,
Abre.
and everybody present Biba, Mr. Mo.
Viva.
Viva.
Before I begin our GITA report, I'd like to kindly suggest if we are able to have the Guam Environmental Protection Agency representatives address the board right after we conclude the GITA monthly progress report, if that will be okay.
Most especially very well.
Thank you. Buenas, everyone. My name's Tony Ariola, representing the Guam Economic Development Authority. And with me, I have Mr. Mike Cruz, Miss Mary Camacho, and Miss Megan Obispo, along with GIPA reps and, of course, Northern Market. I'm here today to present to you the GITA Monthly Progress Report. The following is a progress report on GITA's efforts to manage land bank trust property as required by Section 1 of the MOU between the Guam Economic Development Authority and the Guam Ancestral Lands Commission Land Bank Trust. First tenant on the list is Weddingdale Junction, which is Northern Market. Their monthly rent of $27,854.51, with their outstanding balance of $1,856,340.30, and their last payment received on February 8, 2023. Apra Harbor Parcel 1, that's tenant Quick Space. Their monthly rent of $4,029.02, with a current outstanding of $4,029.02. There's last payment received on February 14, 2024, pending the March 2024 monthly payment. Apra Harbor Reservation F12, that's the Matson Navigation Company. Their monthly rent of $27,733 with zero outstanding balance, with their last payment received on March 7, 2024. Lot Apra Harbor Reservation F12, that's the Trans Steel half-acre property, with a monthly rent of $500, an outstanding balance of $6,500. They've been consistently paying down their arrears with the payment plan that they proposed and approved by the GALC board, along with their last payment that was remitted February 21, 2024, in the amount of $500. The Tengisan Cable Landing Station, Geredu Route 3, AT&T, their monthly rent of $22,939.42, zero outstanding balance. Their last payment received on March 5th, 2024. We're also pending legislature passage of legislation provided by the Guam Ancestral for the AT&T extension on the terms of their lease that will be expiring sometime in September of this year. We also have their ongoing typhoon damage assessment claims. Next one on the list is the Lot Apra Harbor Reservation F12, which is the Polaris Point property being leased under Smith Bridge, Guam, with their monthly rent of $8,800, outstanding balance of zero, with their last payment remitted on March 2nd, 2024. Lot 101551, which is the Farmers Co-op Association of Guam and Dededo. Their annual rent for calendar year 2022 has finally been paid off with their outstanding balance of zero, and that payment was remitted on March 8th. And their last annual lease payment of the amount of $2,484.52. Their next annual payment will be due May of this year for calendar year 2023. We also have new information on the U.S. Postal Service, the lease agreement between Farmers and MCD Guam. They're a limited liability company. From what I know, they're privately owned by Mr. Matthew Leon Guerrero, and they're being subleased by the U.S. Postal Service. Their sublease term is from April 1, 2023 to March 31, 2025, which is a 2-year term, and they're leasing a feed store area with about 1,200 square feet. Their rental rate of $1,632 a month. Option to renew is one more option with a 2-year term, with a new rate at the time of the leasee and the leaser shall have the option to sign a new 2-year lease term at a monthly rate to be determined and agreed upon the time of the renewal. of their last option, a 2-year lease. The Tizen Properties, that's the Guam Environmental Protection Agency building, their lab building. Their monthly rent of $8,000. Their outstanding of currently $296,000. Their last payment remitted on February 1, 2024 in the amount of $8,000. We also have our GIPA reps after we conclude this report who will be addressing their lease payments of the board. The Department of Public Health Social Service WIC program building, their monthly rent of $8,400 of their current outstanding balance of $37,499.35. They also made a total lump sum payment of $25,200 on January 5th and January 8th of 2024. As for them, they're also their typhoon damage assessment claims are still ongoing. Other items on the list is the F-12 Polaris Point Mitigation Plan. Smithbridge, Guam's biological survey has been completed and is currently working on obtaining a permit for clearing on property to identify any hazardous materials. Next item on the list is the GALC owned lots, Tizen, which is lot 1575-1 REM and lot 5182-1 REM, with their draft determination of need. And I believe that will be discussed soon. That concludes my report, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to present this GITA monthly progress report. If there's any questions, please let me know. Yeah.
Masi, Tony. You said you had a representative from GEPA this year?
Sorry.
That's
Go ahead.
correct.
Chairman, if I may,
Okay.
just to go back on the determination of need for the Tizen properties,
Okay.
our drafts have been completed for the Dawn, so we'll be submitting that to the legislature and then prepping for publication.
Okay. So just Masi on that. And
You're
any
welcome.
other information regarding the lots? That's just it, right? I mean, how about
Yeah, that's the next step.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get to the GEPA, I know you have somebody from GEPA here, right? Board members, you have any other questions regarding the GITA report?
No, just thank you, Mr. Ariola, for your report.
I'm Jim Moss, thank you.
Okay, so just Masi, let's move to the GEPA representative. She's here.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and commissioners. I'm Michelle Lastimosa, the administrator for Guam EPA. And first, I'd like to apologize for this inconvenience that our arrears has caused. And if I may provide a little bit of perspective and background as to how we got to this point. Could I do that?
Sure, go ahead.
So back in October of 2019, we discovered some major disrepairs in our operations building, which is also our lab building, to the point where, heavy rains occurred, in that rainy season, where we saw that the roof was leaking, so much so that our staff had to wear raincoats in our ops building because, the damages to the roof. So at the time, our previous administrator and then executive director of Guam Ancestral Lands had a discussion about the disrepair to the building and the needs for repair for the roof. And at that time, we wanted to get on the agenda to present our concerns to the board. And for many months thereafter, we could not get on the agenda because there was no quorum for the board of directors at the time. But there was an informal agreement that we would hold off on rent until we could get an attendance before the board to discuss those concerns. But after then director had left his position, we figured, okay, it probably won't be extended into the next administration or next leadership. So we began to make payments in February of fiscal year 2021. So we can definitely agree that beginning October of 2019 until January of 2021, there was no payment. And then from February fiscal year 2021, we have made consistent payments with the exception of a few months in 2023, where the POs, for whatever reasons, were not processed. So we do have a little bit of an issue with the amount that is being presented, that $288,000 that is claimed to be in arrears. But by our records and payment towards the invoices, we are looking at $184,000. So that's a difference of $104,000 between what is said that we owe versus what our records show. And I know that we have our staff has reached out and has worked with Tony. Thank you very much, Tony, for working with Serena on this issue. And I know that Serena is still working with accounting to reconcile our payments.
Okay, is that your report or your presentation?
Yeah, so really what it is that we're pending an outstanding invoices to attach to our direct payment request for DOA. So the documents that GALC provided to Guam EPA, it almost looks like they took our current payments from when we started making or resuming payment, and they kind of pushed it back to previous outstanding balances. But when we're looking at what used to be the previous AS400, we matched our payments to the invoices that DOA processed. So let's say, let's take, for example, our first payment when resuming payment was February of 2021. That February payment corresponded to the invoice for February of that year. But it looks like what GALC did was they used that first payment to then pay what was the arrears of October in fiscal year 2020. So so the records aren't matching. For us, we've reconciled our records to show that payment and invoices match.
I see. Can I get a response from Gita about what's your response on that? Are we reconciled with what their findings are?
Yes, we are, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to also address Mrs. Lastimosa. From the information that I gathered with our accounting division, they are claiming that for fiscal year 2020, from February 1, 2020, all the way to September 1, 2021, they were saying that, or you guys were stating that you made a payment of a purchase order, a direct payment, but your agency was not able to provide us records of those payments being made. And that's our dilemma right now is we do not have records that state your payments from February 1 to 2020 all the way to September 1, 2021, a total of a 20-month payment that equates to $160,000.
So yes, that's true. Again, as previously explained, there was no payment from October of 2019 to January of 2021. So there's no question about that. There was no payment made on that. So our first payment, resuming payment, was February of 2021. So moving forward from February 21 to present, with the exception of 7 months in 2023, where for whatever reasons our POs did not get processed, we are saying that we owe an arrears of 23 months. So that's our reconciliation, is that we definitely owe 23 months of arrears, which is $184,000, not the 288. And you know, I wanna go on the record to say we are committed to making good on our outstanding balances, but we do need to reconcile this difference of $104,000 from your 288 to our 184.
Okay, so Gita, regarding that difference, it's about 100,000. So what is the why is such a large discrepancy? I mean, they're admitting that they stopped payment from 2019, right?
You know, I'm gonna have to, what I would like to ask is if we would like to work with your accounting people in our accounting division, and we can reconcile, like I said, the payments that you said that you had made from February 2020 to September 2021. We have to go back and reconcile that, and just to clarify, what payments were not remitted. I'm sorry, I currently have our accounting division who's unavailable right now to even clarify this with me, but yeah, Ms. Lasamosa, we can work with your.
Could I
Absolutely. It's a good thing, and I'm so thankful that as we transition to this new federal information management system, that Serena made a copy of our AS400 payments, you know, to GALC our rent. So thank goodness there's that record, because we can't access AS400 anymore. I don't know whether or not, I don't think any agency is able to access the AS400 anymore, but we do have reference numbers corresponding to the invoices. So we have, you know, either it was a direct payment or a purchase order reference to payments made on certain months for those invoices issued. But yeah, we are more than willing to help reconcile. You know, $104,000 is a lot to for there to be this big a discrepancy. So,
well, I'd like to
you
thank
have our full commitment and cooperation.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Ms. Lastamosa, for coming on and appearing for the board. Of course, yeah, Gita, I suggest, you know, you implement those the reconciliation that you need to do with them, with your accounting people and theirs. But before we move on with that, I'd like to see if the board members have any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
If I might make an observation here.
Oh, sure, okay. Legal counsel?
I think both EPA and Gita are correct, but they're talking about two different things. I don't have Guam EPA's lease in front of me, but it is standard language in a lease to say that if you miss a payment, whenever we receive your next check, we are going to post your payment against the oldest receivable we have. So if rent was missed in 2019 and the first check and the next check that was received came in 2021, it would be customary, and again, I don't have Guam EPA's lease in front of me, but it would be customary that the check that was received in 2021 was posted against the 2019 rent. And you keep posting new checks against old debts until you catch up. Now, on the other hand, I recognize that from the EPA's perspective, when they cut a check, in March of 2024, from their point of view, they're paying the rent for March of 2024. And it doesn't surprise me at all that their PO or in the accounting system, when when that March of 2024 check is cut, the notation is that check is associated with payment of rent for March of 2024. So from the commission's point of view, we are guided by the lease and how the lease directs the posting of payments. Now, these are really accounting issues, the posting and timing of credits and debits. There really shouldn't be a financial discrepancy unless that discrepancy is caused by additional late fees or interest, or if there's some other charge that's growing against this particular tenant's rent because they're not paid in full. What I did want to point out is, from the commission's point of view, the way you account for money received from Guam EPA, or frankly from any other tenant, you should be guided by the terms of the lease.
Thank you for that, Attorney Miller. I get it. We completely agree that, standard accounting would work that way, where any current payment would result in the payment of past due balances. But for us, the issue that we have is that when we submit a request for payment for an invoice that already shows that it's been paid in DOA system. So I get that, in GITA's accounting, that's how it works, that any current payment will pay for any past outstanding balances. But in DOA system, if we submit payment for an invoice, that payment corresponds to that invoice. So what we're asking is that we get invoices for the months that were not paid. So what GITA is doing is that they're working it backwards, right? So they're pushing new stuff into old stuff. And it shows that, okay, when we make a payment, when we made that first payment in February of 2021, it paid off the debt starting from October of 2019 in GITA's accounting. And that's right. It pays for past outstanding balances. But in DOA's accounting system, when we submit an invoice, we made payment in that February of 2021, it reflects the invoice for February 2021. So, even though it backs up far back into October of 2019, in DOA system, it shows that we made payment for February 2021. So what we're asking for is past due invoices so we can submit those unpaid invoices to DOA for payment. Because it shows from February of 2021 to present, we've made those payments. It reflects those invoices for those months and not the unpaid.
I understand that.
Yeah, so DOA will not allow us to pay the arrears for invoices that it show in their system have already been paid.
So is it just a matter of GITA sending you the invoices for those arrears?
Yep, that's all.
I see. So
Yeah, so
regarding-
we you know, and again, from our accounting, shows that we owe 23 months. So and then that's where we have to reconcile where you get 288 compared to our 184.
Okay, so if the way I see it, legal counsel, I believe that's what you're saying is exactly what Gita did. So regarding the two agencies, you know, our land representatives, Gita, they're going to reconcile with you regarding those arrears, and it's just a matter of invoice. Is that correct, Tony?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. I don't know of our accounting division. I got to clarify this with them, but we did reach out to GIPA and we did request for them to provide us documentation for the invoice that were already sent to them. And I'm not sure if they have provided us those proof of payment with the invoices that we sent them already. I would have to clarify. Yeah, I believe
so-
that it's for.
So Tony, we did. Just FYI, we did. We did send our spreadsheet.
Okay, and I believe from what I know, the response that we gave you folks is, would you be able to give us proof of records for the invoices that we had given you guys that covers February 1, 2020 to September 1, 2021. And from my recollection of our accounting division, they said you guys were not able to provide records for those invoices.
So we don't have
That's-
records for the invoices that weren't paid, right? So the ones for obviously for October of 2019 up to January of 2021. So, you know, we don't have those records, but from when we started paying again in February of 2021 to current, we do have those purchase order numbers that correspond to that month year invoices. And Serena did send that. So I mean that, and you know, that's where I guess we have to work with Gita's accounting to reconcile you know, those POs and direct payments with those invoices. But again, I don't know whether or not you're able to access AS400. But like I said, Serena was able to capture before AS400 went down all of our payments to Gita.
So Gita, I'm gonna ask you, is it just something that you could go ahead and reconcile this and then present it to the board in the next meeting? Or is there something more to it?
We had reconciled already from our accounting division. We had reconciled already, and that's the last response that we gave GIPA is, if you can provide us proof that you remitted payments for these invoices that we have sent you, then because we don't have records in our cash daily receipt reports of these payments being remitted. We have no record of us receiving remittance of the payments that I'm talking about.
But
Okay.
DOA has records of that being transmitted. So I mean, I don't know, you know, if it's your if accounting doesn't have the records, but DOA shows that it's being paid. I mean, DOA gives us a transaction number and the account.
So would you be able? Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, we
DOA
can provide.
says that,
We have that. We do have that. Yes.
please send us proof of that payment being made, and then we
Okay.
can reconcile with you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Stamosa, like I said, we're missing February 1, 2020, all the way to
Yes.
September 1, 2021.
Yes.
Yeah. We
Yep,
are
we're-
always willing to work with your agency.
Yes,
We're-
absolutely. But you know, again, you know, from our accounting, we just we will work with you. I don't want to take up any more of the board's time. But you know, there is that huge, you know, $104,000 discrepancy that, you know, we need to iron out. But once we do, Serena is ready to process that direct payment to Gita. You have our commitment to make good on our arrears. We just want to make sure that it's the correct balance.
You know, I also want to mention, you had mentioned earlier that there was an agreement, a verbal agreement made with not paying, not making lease payments because of the roof repair with the previous director. I went back through our records and I just couldn't find anything of that agreement. So I believe it was just a miscommunication between Connie, the letter to believe that you guys will be receiving credit in your account because of the
No.
ongoing issue back then in the leaking roof. So
Yeah,
there
it
was
it
nothing in
wasn't a credit.
writing.
No, and we completely agree. There was nothing in writing. Certainly, it was an unofficial. It was a discussion. It was an unofficial agreement, I suppose we could call it, because we wanted to go before the board at the time to make our concerns known, that we had this leaking roof where it leaked in all areas of the lab, so everyone was affected. I mean, to the point where we had maybe 20 buckets out. We have video of the extent of how much it rained that year, and how our staff literally were wearing raincoats because it was raining inside the building. But you know, and no fault, I don't think of anybody. I think it was just maybe again, maybe miscommunication, but certainly there was no quorum for the board of directors to meet, so we could not even get on the agenda, and it just went on for too long. But no doubt, we do owe it. We want to pay what we owe. We just want to make sure that it's the correct amount that we pay.
Okay, so it's not simply just a matter of Gita putting out an invoice for the arrears. You do have objections to that, right? I'm sorry, Mary, you had your hands up. Is it pertinent to what's Mary?
I was just gonna say that, if I may, that a lot of the back and forth discussion again is really outside of what we can provide because of our accounting divisions. So I think if we just took the conversation offline and let our accounting divisions reconcile the differences, but we do know our parts individually, what we need to contribute to this. So I just wanted to say thank you to Ms. Michelle. Yes.
I'm sorry, again, completely unrelated to our arrears, but could we also follow up on FEMA's, you know, I guess Gita's request to FEMA for damages to the building? Because we, as Guam EPA, we can't make any repairs to the building because Gita applied for damages to FEMA. So there are still things in our lab that need to be fixed. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, can we make a note of that regarding her information with FEMA?
Will do.
Okay, also maybe we can get a copy of the lease agreement to our legal counsel.
Can do.
Okay, any further questions? Board? Okay, I see there's no further questions regarding so Gita, are you done with your report?
Oh, yes, I am, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you clear. You are done.
Yes, I'm complete. Thank you.
Okay, let's go down to the next item. I believe it's item number 6, old business. Northern Market counter proposal.
I'll take over if I may.
Okay.
I do have Mr. Champ Calvo as well as Jennifer Calvo on the call. I'm not too sure if there they are.
Okay.
And so I'll just give a brief overview of our meeting that was held last week. Can you guys hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, you're very clear.
Okay, just checking. So on March 7th, last week, we had our second working session with Northern Market. And with that, we had commissioners, the chairman, I'm sorry, I was about to say the two Rons. We had chairman and vice chairman, Ekelve and Ron, as well as Commissioner Rios. And with that, we also had the two Calvos that are on the call today. We did go through the prior working session as well as the meetings we've had. And from that came a term sheet that was submitted by Ms. Calvo that I believe was also given to the commissioners earlier this week. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Calvo to go through the term sheet that was provided. Oh, you're on mute.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I did circulate the draft of the term sheet in furtherance of our working session last week. Thank you again for the time. We believe it was a productive discussion to go through some of the issues that were raised in the previous months. I'm not sure if everyone has a copy of that draft. Was this distributed to the commissioners or?
Let's see, commissioners, you do have a
Yes.
copy of.
Yeah, it was sent out. It was sent out to us.
Okay. So I'll just summarize, I guess, just the background, and then we can get to the main terms that were proposed. We discussed, I think, at length initially the just the history of this project. Of course, that we signed this lease back in 2013, and there's been dramatic changes to just kind of the retail development concept of, we went from the initial big box retailer and then have kind of had to change that because of just the change of the retail business, but also because of just different things that have happened, including the kind of the labor shortage, and then of course the pandemic, the typhoon most recently. And along the way there were deferrals that were approved or were requested from the commission and approved. And we've tried to keep this project alive and kind of change the site plan, change our development plan to make it something that will be, viable, sustainable, and something that we can get started on and manage our resources, including the accrued rent owed to Ancestral Lands at this time. So most of that is documented or summarized, I guess, in the background of the term sheet. Really our primary objective, and I think this is one that we share with Ancestral Lands and GITA, is to keep this going. This is a long-term lease that was approved by the legislature, something that if we don't get it going now, that if this project doesn't get going, we would have a short, the only option I think going forward would be to have to walk away from this project, and then of course Ancestral Lands and would have to try and get another lease, which we understand, of course, because of the current laws would be a shorter lease. So because we have put about $2 million in the project to do the infrastructure plan, which is very complex, and then also to modify that along the way to accommodate the financial resources available now, and just to get it started. We've spent those funds. We've really kind of regrouped with our partners in the project to get a diverse and what we think would be very good tenant mix for the project. We did mention we have a financial institution there, several restaurants, and I think once we get it going, and once there's some activity up there, that definitely will generate more interest and have possibly additional committed tenants. Although we do have quite a substantial list of tenants that have already committed by LOI to either lease a pad and do their own construction, or to lease space within a multi-tenant facility, mostly restaurants and then some retail as well. So those are all the points that we talked about, and just kind of our commitment to continue to work on this project, even though it has changed substantially. It's been over 10 years since the lease was executed. So facing the current situation, we have requested, and I think this was back in probably November, we submitted a proposal for a request for deferral of the rental payments during the construction period, which we estimate to be 36 months to get. We've broken it down into 3 phases. We've asked for deferral of the rent during that period, and then also propose a repayment plan, an aggressive repayment plan after the construction is complete, which would include increasing the participation rent, which is currently 2.5% under the existing lease. We would give up some of our profits, and as consideration for this kind of construction rent deferral, we would increase the participation rent from 2.5% to 50%. which would be a significant increase to ancestral lands going forward of, you know, their rental income. So that's the background. We believe this would, of course, obviously yield greater dividends to ancestral lands for generations to come, which we understand is a big concern and has been an ongoing concern for this project. So with that being said, if I can focus everyone's attention to page 2, we summarize the terms that were discussed during the working session. Of course, first was just the purpose, and the purpose of the term sheet was just to give, assuming that the parties agree on the terms that were proposed, to give Northern Market a limited deferment during the construction period, which will allow us to you know, start the infrastructure. There's no infrastructure there right now, and there is, you know, kind of a large price tag attached to that, you know, for water, sewer, power. So the purpose of the term sheet would be to memorialize our agreement regarding the construction rent period deferral, and to move forward finally with the actual, you know, breaking ground and getting some activity up there. The second term on the term sheet is that the accrued base rent, which we will attach an exhibit, which was not provided with the draft. Of course, that would be, you know, the final calculation submitted at the time of executing the term sheet if it's approved by the commission. The third term would be the deferment of the construction of the rent during the construction period. So during this period, we've asked that the base rent be deferred for about 36 months. And this would start from the date that Northern Market secures, or the month following Northern Market securing its building permit. I think, had mentioned in previous materials to the commission that all the clearances for the building permit have been approved. Have been secured. So we do have that. I think there's just the final payment for the occupancy, for the construction permit, building permit, that we would have to secure once we're able to finalize an agreement on the construction rent deferral. Thereafter, we would begin the construction, and which we estimate to take about 36 months. And then the completion date would be the target, the date of the issuance of the occupancy permit. And then the rent, the accrued rent and the deferred construction rent would begin to repay the both of those two amounts after the month following the completion date, and the completion date is defined as the date that the occupancy permit for the project is issued. Let me see what other terms here. The building permit, of course, I just mentioned, we have already secured the agency clearances for that. We expect that to take about 3 months to actually get the building permit. Thereafter, I think we would need to get a highway encroachment permit, which should not take a substantial amount of time. As stated, also, the resumption of base rent payments would be after the completion date. Additionally, the increase in the participation rent, which we mentioned, which is the additional consideration given for this deferral. So it would go from the 2.5% of the net operating income from the project up to 50%.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interject there for a moment.
Sure, Vice Chair.
You know, we have two commissioners that are off screen. Are they still with us?
Commissioner Cruz and Commissioner Arellino. Yeah, Commissioner Arellino's there.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner
What
Cruz.
about?
I know Commissioner Cruz had to get off her computer at 2:15 and then switch to her phone, I believe. And then back at 3:15, she was supposed to be back on the computer. Is that correct, John?
That's right.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. Is she on, by the way? Commissioner Cruz? Oh, yeah, she's here.
Hello?
Okay, there she is. Okay. Okay, Ms. Calvo, you can continue.
Sorry,
I apologize for that.
No problem.
It's okay.
Mr. Chair, I also have to switch devices in about 5 minutes. So the final item here is basically just the repayment of the accrued rent and the construction period rent. So those two amounts, taken together, would be repaid In addition to the base rent that we paid, those two accrued rental amounts would be paid following the completion date. And that would come from the increased participation rent that would be applied until the accrued rent is fully paid. Thereafter, the increased participation rent is just additional income to the Ancestral Lands Commission. Basically, this mechanism guarantees that there's an aggressive repayment structure and the source identified under the lease, as we hope to be amended, to identify the source of repayment, also the the mechanism for doing it through the participation rent. So those are all the terms. Oh, because the final one, of course, is that we would memorialize this agreement by an amendment to the lease as is contemplated under section 13.0 of the current lease agreement.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Calvo. Is there any additions from Gita that you'd like to comment on? I don't believe Diego is with us now, is he?
No, I'm sorry, he's not. He had a family thing he had to attend today, so he would not be joining us today. There were some comments that were going back and forth between, I know, Mr. Burchin himself. I wasn't sure if he had shared those with you. Some of the concerns from the working session, I'm sorry. I do know that we had discussions regarding, for example, having some sort of, not base rent, but some sort of calculated rent should the participation rent percentage not amount to anything. But when I spoke with Ms. Calvo, it was under the discussion that those amounts could not be determined at this time. And we can go further into that, but I do know that was a major point of discussion in the meeting that we had last week.
Yeah, I see. From what I understand, it was given, Ms. Calvo, you did send that in, did you?
I did. Well, I think what Mary is referring to is just the participation rent amount and the calculation of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was included in the term sheet was just that the amount would be 50% of what the net operating income is from the project, and that whatever that amount would be or will be would be applied to the accrued rent until the accrued rent, both to date plus the construction period rent, until that amount is fully paid. And then the participation rent of 50% of the net operating income will be just basically additional rent to Ancestral Lands.
Okay, very good. Gita? That's correct.
Yes, that was part of the discussion. Correct.
Okay, let's get unless you have anything further to add.
More so, I was curious about the other commissioners that were not in attendance with the working session, if they had any comments or concerns.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was about to get to. Yes,
Okay,
can we get to that? Okay,
I have a
so no
question.
further. Okay, yes, can we get some? Yes, Commissioner Cruz.
Yes. Has the members of the working session asked for a big deposit, to make on this project? Let's say 500,000, because we've had this deferred payments for a while now. So I'm asking if that was considered, because some kind of a big deposit.
Well, see, the working session, the conditions that they offered was basically it's unheard of. Basically, that 50% participation rent you don't hear of, and so that was in lieu of the arrears to for them to get pay the arrears up according to the term sheet. So that 50% is unheard of, and it's actually an advantage for Ancestral Lands at this stage. For any, we don't see that for any leases. Mr. Calvo or Ms. Calvo, would you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, a substantial payment had been proposed, and we had considered it over the last couple of years. And our main goal, Mr. Chairman and commissioners, was to keep the project alive. The world has changed, as we all know, maybe a couple of times since we signed this lease. And the real estate development market, particularly for a shopping center, is not the most stable thing to do at this point. So what we were doing was structuring something that would give us an advantage to make this project viable, so that once it's done, there'll be a flow of income into ancestral lands and to the project based upon tenant revenues and rentals and so on and so forth. But we have to eliminate some of the obstacles that really will prevent us from getting this thing started. The main thing that concerns us is a structure that makes it viable for everyone's benefit. And so we felt that structuring it tied to a lease rental that gives up some of the upside to the developer, just to assure the project has the best chance to succeed, was the way to go, rather than burdening the project with additional upfront capital, which might make it more difficult to develop. It'll definitely make it more difficult to develop. And at this point, it's really a time to figure out whether or not to go forward with this project or not. And we thought that the percentage rent, even though we're giving up the profit that we would otherwise be entitled to, and the difference between 2.5 and 50% is pretty substantial, was more important. It was more important to get the project going and to make it viable than it was to work on viability. And we thought that putting upfront capital, more upfront capital, would really be an obstacle that would be difficult to overcome. Keep in mind that we've already put a pretty substantial investment in the permitting, the design costs, and going forward, there are going to be more soft costs that are related to the permitting and getting the project ready. For instance, on the building permit, it's probably going to be a couple to $300,000 that we're going to have to pay to get those permits released. And we want every dollar that we're going to spend for this project going forward to get the project off the ground and up and running. And so with us, it's really a pretty critical time because we've been trying to hold together our tenant mix. And fortunately, I think we have, but I'm not sure how much longer we can do it. So we really have to sort of, do something here, or the project's going to go away. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but that was the reason why we considered giving up some of the back end profit, a lot of the back end profit, versus putting up more capital obstacles at the beginning of the project. Does that make sense? Did I explain that correctly?
Commissioner Cruz?
Yes, and of course, we've heard that before. Yeah, those are very good justifications for deferral. However, I'm still adamant to having the company put some kind of a deposit. This time around, we have waived that previously, but this time around, I would like to see a deposit made before we. So I don't know how the rest of the commissioners feel about that. And then we can table this again. I don't know if we even have enough members to validate a vote for today. I think you need at least 5.
Yeah, Commissioner Cruz, if I may add, and I didn't say it clearly enough, but as far as sort of an indication or confirmation of our commitment to the project, we are going to put capital in, but it's going towards the development of the project. It's going to go towards the permitting. It's going to go towards further design fees. It's going to go to sort of concessions we're going to have to deal with the tenants who we've attracted. And then some of the tenants that we're talking to are going to want to lease space, not to lease ground. So we're going to actually have to work on building and designing and building structures for them as well. So the capital, it's not as though there's not going to be capital put into the project. It's just that it's going to go into the project in a way that furthers the development of the project that will generate rental income. So And so the difference is that it just doesn't sit there, or it goes to ancestral lands. We put a deposit up. We really want it to be working capital that we can use to move the project along and make it more viable.
Also, Commissioner Cruz, I'd like to add that the subcommittee with the working session actually is finding the positive and is in favor of these new terms that have come up, and we feel that it's a great opportunity for ancestral lands. It's a very different deal. That 50% participation rent is unheard of. Also, GITA is of the same mindset. They like it. They just can't basically urge us to approve it. But they like the deal very much. Also, the justifications of the deferrals were all there in the past years. We all see it. We all saw it regarding the economy, the shortage of workers, H2 workers, just one problem after another. The reputations of Mr. Carlos Camacho and of course the Calvos is their reputation is there. They're the elites in the local. They're not out to fail, and of course they're not out to fail. They've already thrown in a lot of money into the project. We can see that they haven't even broke any ground, but yet they've made payments. So that was one reason why the subcommittee with the working session is in favor of this deal, as opposed to if we start all over again. For all intents and purposes, that money's gone. We'd have to start all over again with rebidding it out. Then the permitting process has to come into play again. That could take several years again for the permitting process. And we don't know what's basically going to happen in the future with the government of Guam and on our situation with the land. So the subcommittee and the working session is in favor.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, so this is the recommendation that both GITA and the working commissioners on the session have come up. And so are you saying that this is the recommendation?
Yes, it is the recommendation. There's just maybe one or two other aspects that I would like to bring up to Ms. Calvo and Mr. Calvo regarding, if I could do that right now. Can I do that right now real quick?
Please do.
Okay. In the past, Northern Market did, they offered a couple of other incentives for some of the deferrals and to approve the deferrals. And one of them was the contingency for the phases. The contingency, I guess there's a contingency funds, right, for the phases, like for overruns.
Right.
So they offered. I did talk to Diego about this. I'm not sure if he got a hold of you, but would you be willing to, like, if you didn't have to touch those overruns, that those would go to the arrears? If you didn't have to tap into those into the contingency payments.
Oh, yeah. If I understand you correctly, Mr. Chairman, yeah, we would have no problems with that. In fact, we would want to pay down the arrearage as quickly as possible. We think that it should come out of the rental surplus after the base rent.
Yeah, that sounds good. So how many phases is there? Is there a first phase, second phase, third, or is this one phase?
That's one of the issues that we've had, is that initially we were looking at phases, but depending on whether the tenants continue to be interested in the project or are willing to go now, we would do it all at once. There's at one point over the last few months that we had thought we'd gotten a couple of the anchor tenants to agree not to phase it, just to do it at once, which is our desire. And so right now we have a 10,000 square foot retail tenant that's coming in. There's another one that's looking at 20,000 square feet. And then, as we discussed at the working session, we have very, very preliminary interest from an established retailer that would take much more space. And if we get all those retailers to go in at the same time, then we do the project all at once. If we didn't have to phase it, we wouldn't phase it. We would build the project out right away while before the world changes again, so that we can get them committed and do it. And
so we're on the same page with regard to what I was bringing up regarding the contingency construction contingency funds, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And that regarding overruns. Oh, okay, that sounds. So you could put that in the language of the term sheet, right?
Right. What we're looking for is this: we want an indication that these essential terms, and we could put a provision there regarding the contingency funds and paying down the arrearage. But we really would want to get an approval of these basic points, because we've been holding back going to our tenants. In fact, we got something from a tenant today asking what was going on and whether or not we still had a project. We want to go back to them and get their commitment. Right now we have LOIs, but we want to go back and say, look, we have a revised deal with Ancestral Lands that makes this project viable, and this is what we're doing, so we can start firming up these tenant commitments and get moving on it. So what we would look for is, approval of these points, including what you just mentioned, Mr. Chairman, subject to executing a final amendment to the lease that would be the.
That's what I was talking about, the amendment.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Oh, that's our legal counsel?
Yes, sir. Can I offer 2 observations?
Sure, of course. Please.
It makes no difference to me whether these find their way into today's consideration, or they find their way into a fully drafted lease amendment. But I would suggest that the commission and the developer agree on some date out in the future, whereby if the dirt isn't turning, if the project is not going to go forward, that we all just simply agree that the lease is terminated. Because if for any reason whatsoever, the development doesn't get going, the lease is still there, and we'll still have to deal with one another over the terms of the lease. And so all I'm suggesting is that the commission and the developer just pick some date out in the future and say, you know what, if this project can't work by December 31st, 2024, then we shake hands and say thanks, and we all go our separate ways.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a good point. We're agreeable to that, and as we explained in our working session, we want to see this project through because it was started. Not only is it good for the ancestral lands, but it's our reputations that are at stake. So if this doesn't work, a walk away is fine with us. We're doing everything we can to make this work, and it's something, quite frankly, if we had to start from the beginning, we wouldn't do. But we're down the road with you. We've made a commitment. It's out there, and we want to see it through. So I think a legal counsel's suggestion that we have a date certain, that if it doesn't work by that date, that we walk away. That's fine with me.
Can we get that on? Can we get that now? Is it possible? I know there's a we need to at least something that's workable for both for northern market and basically the interest of the commission. Something that's reasonable.
A walkaway date is fine, but what I suggest is that let us go back, talk to our contractor, talk to our team, and then you guys can do the same, and then let's agree upon a date. If we can agree on this and then come up with a date that's and I almost want to say end of the year is fine as legal counsel has suggested, but I really want to talk to our contractor. The only other variable here, and we've had this experience in some of our other projects, is that there's some things that are beyond our control, which really make no sense, but they result in delay. And that's principally permitting through not all the agencies, but some of the agencies, and so the delay that's caused by the processing might be something we want to factor in. For instance, I've had a project that's been held up for over a year because of SHPO, and for no good reason. And we've begged and we've pled, and then certainly then after a year, it's been the permit was approved, but there was no justification or really reason for the delay. It just didn't get processed. So those are the kinds of things that we can't control, and maybe we can craft something that deals with that that issue. But
would that be a reason to hold up if the commission can approve it now?
No, I mean, all I'm saying is that if we choose a date, say December 31, 2024 as the sort of drop dead date to turn ground and to do work, if it's being held up for no good reason, but we've made all this commitment, all this investment, our tenants are all lined up, but we're waiting for an approval that is not being held up for good cause. It seems to me that it's in everyone's interest to extend that date.
Hypothetical you're saying about December 31st, right? That's hypothetical.
Yeah. And December 31st seems, it could be any date. But I'm inclined to accept December 31st, but I really want to talk to our contractor and the designers on our team, and then really touch base with our tenants to make sure that they are in fact ready to go. Okay, so these are two new, the conditions are still the same. It's just that there's two new additions to it, which is our legal counsel's suggestion for a determined date, and also the construction overrun that if it's not used, those will be can go to the arrears. So that's the only two.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
One other suggestion that excuse me, that we don't need to take up today, but we ought to address before we go to a fully drafted amendment to the lease is that so that we can avoid the conversation we just had with Guam EPA, is I would encourage the developer and GITA to have some discussions up front about how NOI is going to be calculated, how participation rent is, the math, the credits and the debits that are going to go into calculating participation rent, because it doesn't do any of us any good, sort of 2 or 3 years from now, to be having a robust discussion over whether, Christmas decorations at the site, should be paid for before the participation rent is calculated, as an example.
Right.
Gita, I thought that was ironed out. That was ironed out already. What he's just brought up regarding the participation rent. I thought we have that ironed out already. Is it not?
We did have it detailed. We did go into discussion about it, but there's no formal paper that dictates what the part other than the 50%.
Well,
yeah, I think we can use an industry standard. We have in our portfolio and we're both tenants and we're both landlords throughout the island, is that we can use an industry standard percentage rent and calculation of net income to run by you all, and then we can talk about that. But yeah, we didn't, Mr. Chairman, I don't recall specifically going through a detailed definition, but we do have detailed definitions that we've used and have used in our commercial leases that we'd run by you all.
I just thought the definition would be the same definition Gita's always used in our participation rent leases, but it's different. Gita? Okay, Mike. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. You're on mute.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I think you're correct. We have not discussed that. Normally, what we require is a percentage of growth. So we don't get into a discussion as to what constitutes, valid reductions, and because we normally do growth. But if there is an industry standard on what constitutes net then I think we'd be willing to consider that.
I thought, I'm just being honest, I just thought that there was an industry standard that we're going by with the net already. And then the 2.5%.
Mr. Calvo indicated that there is an industry standard, so I mean,
Well, I
we
stand
can look
corrected.
at that.
I stand corrected then, okay. Mr. Cowell?
Yeah, no, we'll run that, you know, it's, we'll run that by Gita and legal counsel, and you guys can look at it and we can sort of imagine what it's going to look like and do pro formas, but we can provide that information that we can look at, Mr. Chairman. Happy to do it.
Okay,
I thought we were going to do that anyway. If we got past this point, is that we would present it as part of the negotiation or the finalization of the amendment to the lease.
Okay, it looks like our legal counsel is saying that we should have that in place prior to us agreeing. Is that what you're talking about?
No, Mr. Chairman, all I'm suggesting is that as part of your consideration today, that you direct Gita as part of finalizing a formal lease amendment to clearly articulate what the participation rent is 50% of what, and how do we calculate what?
Okay, right. So that seems to me like we have to wait until that's finalized before we agree right now.
Well, Mr. Chair, this is a suggestion, is that we agree and we approve the essential terms subject to those items, and I think that and these are all reasonable points that I think legal counsel is making that would get sorted out. But my main concern is going back and sort of rounding up our tenants and saying, look, yeah, we're moving forward. We got this deal. And the 2 points that legal counsel has mentioned are going to be worked out. I mean, we're going to agree on it. We're going to give you what we think is the industry standard, and we can talk about that and negotiate it if we have to. But it's going to be reasonable. And if we can't agree, then we don't have a deal. But with the approval of these points, with those two sort of conditions, I can go forward and sort of and start moving for a commitment from our tenants, which is critical for us, to hold this project together.
Gita, your thoughts on that real quick. This is like it's kind of like a condition. It's not a conditional approval, right? It's actually an approval.
My understanding of it is if we include the information that says that this is just the preliminary approvals to include the contingency of phases, the walkaway date, the 50% participation rent, those to be sorted out at another date. That's my understanding of what Mr. Calvo is saying, as well as Attorney Miller.
And Gita, as our property managers, you're okay with it. As far as those conditions, not particularly the you're okay with it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. Can you repeat that?
Regarding that, you're okay with it. It's good. Our legal counsel, you're okay too, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If the commissioners approve it, then yes, sir.
Okay, there we have it.
I have a question.
Hey, Commissioner Cruz.
How difficult is it to come in calculating the participation rent, whether it be gross or net? Because don't forget, we have a tenant that was the amount due to Guam Ancestral Land that was done by the senator, and it did not benefit Guam Ancestral Land. So, and I don't think that was the standard way of calculating how much is due to GA to Ancestral Land Commission. And you know which
that's a very good question, Commissioner. Very good question.
I don't think that was standard.
That's exactly what we're discussing here, and that's what's going to be finalized, and it's going to be standard. That's what our legal counsel is comfortable with it, and Gita's comfortable with it.
Okay.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
If at all possible, I want to like to see all those particulars, incorporated before we sign
Well,
or
we're,
approve
this
the
is a
unless
this
it's
is
going to be so complicated that it's going to delay the progress of Northern.
yeah, it's gonna
market
delay that.
stuff.
It's gonna delay. We're already so much, you know. But it's basically, it's not a conditional approval, but those terms would be in the amendment, and Gita will finalize the terms so that those are like the standard conditions with regard to
I've got a question. If Gita has come up with those particulars, it doesn't mean that it's automatically our approval and Northern Market does not have a say so, and this is it.
Hey, legal
Because
counsel regarding that, yeah, regarding her question there, legal counsel.
No, I mean, Mr. Chairman, members, we will have to bring back the formal amendment to the lease for your review and consideration before it can be executed.
So correct me if I'm wrong, we can approve it right now.
Today you are approving. Today you are giving direction to Gita and legal counsel to move forward with drafting this first amendment to the lease along in consideration of the terms you're setting for us today.
I see. Questions, board?
I prefer seeing all of those things before we sign an amendment. We can approve it subject to, if our attorney says it's okay to do an approval subject to those other
To our legal
yeah.
to our legal counsel. Okay.
Yeah.
Legal counsel, can we do that?
Again, we can't. I mean, my understanding is you're not approving a document today. You're simply giving Gita and counsel direction how to write the next document. So there is not a final unchangeable agreement on what the exact precise terms of this first amendment to the lease are going to be.
I understand now.
Yeah, the only change is the two stipulations that we're talking about, right? That's the only two.
Right.
Right. But everything else is agreed upon. The other is just these two. That's what we're asking. So you're saying we can't move forward with giving that approval right now?
Well, because you don't have a document in front of you, and our tenant doesn't have a document in front of them. They, we got to put the exact words on paper.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think that really what the Northern Market is really looking for is an agreement that this proposal is acceptable, subject to the points that we just discussed, the 2 points that legal counsel has raised, and the application of the construction reserves to back rent. The unused construction reserves being used for back rent, and everything is subject to the final amendment document, which we have to prepare and agree to, that the commission and Northern Market will sign. Really, what we're looking for, we don't think we have an amendment at this point, Mr. Chairman. Really, what we're looking for is approval of the board. It's a directional approval. And condition upon a final amendment being signed. But what I'm looking for is a directional approval so that we can actually start working on it again. And the most important thing to me is to go back and touch base and firm up the commitments from our prospective tenants that they are still interested and are going to go forward as tenants in our project. And then, so that's what I'm looking for right now. I don't expect to have a final binding agreement coming out of this meeting. I think that we still have to draft it, and you guys all have to approve it. And I think we're specific about even your approval, your directional approval is subject to these points being approved further by the commission.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
so-
that kind of
Thank
clarifies it.
you.
Yeah.
I-
Yes,
I'm
it
just
does.
trying, I'm just trying to make progress on this project to
Yes,
keep it
okay.
alive.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
it's in line
Calvo.
with our legal counsel and it makes sense. It's perfect sense.
And
Thank you, legal
Mr. Chair?
counsel, Mr. Calvo. Gita, go ahead, Vice Chair.
Yeah, for the other commissioners, that were not in the work session, the key players are not here. Diego is not here. Commissioner Rios is not here. But I was there.
That's
Chairman was there. And, it was a very, we hashed it out and, it just looked it was favorable. I'm just surprised that Commissioner Rios is not here. Cause he
Yeah,
gave out a lot of good points and, a lot of questions were hammered out there and, it seemed pretty favorable as a result of the work session. That's it.
Yes, I agree. I share the same sentiments. I would like to give Commissioner Rios the benefit of the doubt, though. And you're right. It's kind of disappointing he's not here, but I understand his mom. He's got some medical thing with his mom, so hopefully we pray that she's okay. We do have a good understanding right now of what Mr. Calvo is asking and regarding the ability to move forward. So in essence, we're not having a final agreement. Basically, we want to just give you the opportunity to move forward and get work with Gita to get those new conditions, the 2 new conditions, finalized on the final amendment, right? On the amendment and the whole new terms. Then we'll have something to substantial to vote on and agree to. Because right now everything seems to be in line to move forward and have an agreement.
Okay.
So I don't think we're gonna need a motion for this. I think we're gonna just legal counsel, do we need a motion on that or just have them
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that you move to direct Gita to finalize a formal amendment to the Northern Markets lease in accordance with the term sheet that was provided, and that the overrun issue, the drop dead date issue, and agreement on accounting be added into that formal First Amendment to the lease.
Very good. Can we get a motion on the floor?
Marie, Commissioner Cruz, that was your request. So what I suggest you make that move.
Okay, so I have a motion to approve what our Attorney General just suggested on having the lease and having Gita prepare the lease to incorporate what our attorney Gita and the Northern Market Company agreed on. So
Right.
just that's my motion.
Right, and it's concerning those three conditions that our legal counsel
The term sheet plus the 3 conditions.
term sheet plus those new 3 conditions, and that's
Okay, the term sheet
regarding
and
how
the
they
3
calculate the
net rent.
the net
Yeah.
regarding to the
Yeah.
participation rent. It's also regarding the overruns.
Baby.
And what was the third one again?
The drop dead date.
Drop date
The
deadline.
date. Okay, so we have a motion by
One
Commissioner Cruz.
For clarification on that, it's either the gross rent or the net rent standard. So I believe we
good.
do not want the
Okay.
net rent. We want the gross rent
No,
calculation.
it's already agreed upon. It is a participation rent of 50% off of the net. And that how they're gonna accrue that's what they're gonna work out. How
Okay,
they're
baby.
that's part of the motion. The motion is how they're going to arrive at that.
I have I'm kind of like bit confused here. Okay, we're going to calculate the participation rent. I believe it should be on the gross rent because the gross rent is the total amount they
Well,
receive. If
the-
it's the
the-
net rent, then the company
No,
will.
the subcommittee worked that out on the work session. And we worked it at the work session and Mr. Calvo, can you go ahead and address that?
Yeah.
I did bring up the gross receipts. Okay, but for Mr. Calvo, you can?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Cruz, the 50% of the gross is not going to make this feasible without even doing the math. That's just, that's why you don't see 50% participation rent. That's just never heard of. But what we're willing to do is really have that high percentage against a net income approach. But we understand that the net income approach is going to be a calculation based upon what we both agree on, and that's what I think we were talking about, is going through to making sure that it's industry standard and that it is the usual stuff that's included in as far as net expenses with that number. But if it's going to be a gross amount, we're not going to be able to do the 50%. I'm confident that's not going to be the case. I'm sorry, you guys. This is going to go away. So
that, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the problem. The 50% just doesn't work as far as the viability of the project if we're going to do it on gross.
So the subcommittee work session, we ironed that out. This is what we're doing, right? That's what we brought up here, that we ironed that out, and then our legal counsel did bring up, and Gita did bring up the necessity to determine that net, how they calculate that net. That's what they're going to do now. That's what your motion entails.
I see. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. We're still good.
Yes.
We're good.
Motion on the floor to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, the only discussion I would suggest is that once they do yours placed in writing immediately, please notify all parties, and that we would possibly do time is of essence here with with the Northern Marketing, and that we set a special meeting just for that purpose.
Yeah, we could call a special meeting.
That's ASAP.
Thank you.
Okay, so no further discussions on the motion. It's seconded by Vice Chair.
No further discussion on my part.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any nays? No nays. Joey, motion passes. Juice Masi.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, and we'll work hard to make this something that is going to be beneficial to the Ancestral Lands Commission, and we'll contact Gita and legal counsel and start working on this right away.
So Juice Masi, and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Juice Masi. Thank you.
And Gita, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next item up.
Mr. Chairman, I'm signing off.
Yeah.
Okay. Juice
Bye-bye.
Masi. Take
Okay,
care.
bye-bye.
Okay, where are we at? Agenda. We are moving down now to new business.
The business, and we don't have anything, sir.
Okay, very good. Public comments.
Nobody signed in for public comments.
Our next.
I have a public comment.
Okay, Vice Chair.
I like Mr. Joey. Joey,
Yes,
I
sir.
appreciate your
Yeah.
pride and the Chamorro month, like with your background and the initiating the Fanogi Chamorro and the Anifresi. I think that we should always do that. The way we've had it before, and we do it all together. And let's start considering engaging face to face.
Yes.
I think we should because you won't be missing out on my pico papaya, and the pico mango and all that good stuff. And face-to-face engagement is very important.
By the way,
because-
yeah, it is. And Commissioner, Vice Chair, I'd like to add that the speaker did contact me about going back to making it an option. I said, should I just make it back facing single? We should make it an option to the board members for Zoom or for a hybrid if necessary or back in. So bear that in mind. We should decide whether it's best to leave the option open if some members want to do Zoom. But if you want to do in-person meeting, we should keep that option open. So maybe we'll deal with that on the next meeting. Thank you, Vice Chair, for reminding me about that.
And Biba Mas tomorrow, not mess, but Biba Mas.
Biba Mas.
Yeah.
We are now at announcements.
Yeah. No. Wait. Still public comment, but I got another comment. I would like to thank our legal.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. You have been engaging, with and putting in some good points. I appreciate your input because we've had legal representation that many a times is just bare sense. We had to just kind of like grab it out of them, say, hey, what's going on? But I noticed that you are intently listening well and you're putting good input. That's my observation. That's just my observation. We've had about 5 attorneys already, and many of times that we just had to knock, say, hey, where's your report? What we've been asking for that report for several meetings, and it just hadn't come through. But I guess the attorneys covering both ancestral lands and COTC at many times. But I just want to thank you for your diligence and providing input. That's what we need. And yes, we are in the clear. That's why we are not under the scrutiny of the Attorney General, because we have not violated any legal ramification, any matters that we have gone to. We want it clear cut, straight, and be honest with the people of Guam.
Commissioner
I have
Cruz.
a comment before we.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I noticed that our minutes are back to verbatim. Can we have that summarized like before? Because that's really too long. Our minutes. Yes. Can you have that summarized instead of the verbatim?
Good.
Is that kosher to have it summarized?
I'll mention it to Mr. Burke, and we'll see if we can do the summary. Currently though, I think it may be beneficial to have it word for word. That way, nothing is missed. But I'll mention it to Mr. Birch when he comes back from the commission request.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't make that decision. I'm not the acting director, so we'll just have to we'll just have to wait for Mr. Birch.
Tony,
Tony?
Yes. Attorney Miller, I want to thank you for clarifying the going back to Gita's accounting. I want to thank you for letting GIPA know that the way we apply monthly payments to GIPA and even WIC, the Tizang government agencies, is we apply the payments from the previous past outstanding arrears. So I want to thank you for clarifying that. I missed that part to inform them about that, as to how we apply the accounting of their payment. Thank you for that, sir. All right, that's all I gotta say.
And that's how I saw it. That's how I figured that it should have been done. You're catching up with your payment. You're not just going to pay for that month. You're paying for that month after delay. You pay for what you owed back then. Then you start from there. It only makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that, Mr. Miller. That was a vital part of what we wanted to let GIPA know, with the way we apply our accounting practices here, as far as payments are concerned. Thank you.
Sure thing.
And it didn't appear as a cut and dry thing about just sending them an invoice for those arrears. I didn't think it was that simple, although she did confirm that, yes, just cut an invoice. So that's why I got a little bit confused there, you know, because there's a discrepancy on the amount, I guess, even on the arrears. Am I right?
That's correct. They were asking us to produce invoices of what they do not have. I can't do that, you know? We know what we have, so if anything, they should reconcile on their
That's true.
side and get that proof from DOA accounting, because I don't have records of it. So just to clear the record, thank you.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Arlino, do you have anything to
Very
say?
well.
No,
Oh, sige, Imani. Mga mahalam, be.
I'm listening very well, and if I have a question, I'm ready to yell it out.
Okay.
And yep.
Sejus Masi,
Okay.
okay. I'd like to recognize Gita. Thank you, Sejus Masi, for everything and you know, being on top of these things. We're getting more and more fine-tuned into the reports. Appreciate that very much. Fine, great job on Gita, all
Yeah.
of you. And of course, our staff.
Yeah.
Our staff at GALC, we cannot say, you know, enough good things
Yeah.
about them over
Yeah.
there. My God.
You know, also comment again, you know, Miss Commissioner Cruz and Orlino, that work session that we had, I came in just a few minutes late, but boy, that conference room was well attended,
Yeah, very
well
well.
represented, and we had Gita full force there. We had both attorneys from the Northern, and it was a very formal setting, and it was you can see that there was full engagement in there, and it was face to face, and we
Joy
could
was
just,
there, and Joy was on
Yeah.
the Joy
And
was on the
Bunny-
money.
yeah, even,
and, you know, he's keeping everybody on our toes there. But
and
which
even
is Joy, I'm happy. You know, we do have our disagreements and everything, but this is what makes us come up to, you know, we have our sound decision. And Joy, you were spot on, my friend, spot on. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So maybe we should just adjourn the meeting and then
Yeah.
next board meeting is the
Carry on.
next second Wednesday of the April is April 9th. So that would be the next meeting.
Notwithstanding if there's
Any emergencies, special meetings.
special meeting or anything. So April 9th, what day is that? It is a Wednesday, right?
That's a Wednesday, second Wednesday of the month, April 9th.
Very
Okay.
well.
We'll
Motion
keep
to
it
adjourn. Oh, sorry,
So-
Joey.
So by then we would have the request from the Secretary Treasury of the to include the in the term sheets and the 3 others. So everything will be in order by then for the next meeting, and we could see those for the meeting, right?
Yes, everything will be
In order.
yes.
That's good.
Well,
So was
hopefully.
there a date?
hopefully even before that. Remember,
Sorry.
we were
April 10th. I'm sorry, everybody. April 10th. I got corrected.
Oh, April 10th. That's a Wednesday.
April
that's
10th.
the regular scheduled meeting. But
Yes, sir.
if we do receive a reply from Gita on the Northern Marketing matter, we need to take action because the Northern Marketing is ready to move forward, and we don't want to lose that.
And most of us,
opportunity.
our term expires this month.
Right. Yeah.
Most of us. Exactly. So anyway, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, it's now 4:05 p.m. Sejus Masi, everybody. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.